السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. عويسي وناكسن دمانتين أقيارتا قيميغا يقدرين تمودن هل كان اسكوغي مدعاو دمانتين وحانو ذي كما هنقينا وقتي نقاليغا حليغا قبوغا درني وجيرو إناد وقتي نوصو هورتان إناد عاو حفلدن قيمها بدنات كسو قيب قشان طبعا كلنكو وكلن كدوان كلمادي halkan aan isugu iman jirnay waa sanad guuradii koowaad ee ka soo wareegatay markii la aasaasay rugta ganacsiga Soomaalida gobolka Minnesota waxaanu idin leenahay xafladda sanad guurada oo waxyaabo fara badan ka kooban caawa isbarasho furan iyo waliba barnaamijyo xiiso leh inaad nagula soo dhawaataan mar kale waxaan kumanaan jeer idinka mahadnaqayaa anigoo ku hadlaya magaca rugta ganacsiga waqtigiina qiimaha badan caawa halkan u soo horteen dhamaantiin wad mahadsantiin barnaamijka ayaan furanaynaa kadibna waxaynu ugu xigi doona waa cashayn doona laakiin cashada ka hor waxaan jeclahay inaad ila soo dhaweysaan cabdikariin axmed daahir oo ka mid ah rugta ganacsiga Soomaalida gobolka Minnesota cabdikariin soo dhaw
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مركه هراء ومهندسين بقولك وبقول وحن ربع إن هالنقاء ضدك سوق من قابي إيفنتي عن خروج بدن له أو هذا وجدان سدوا خروج بدن ته مركه هراء هذا هالنقينا بعد الصحافة ده كسوق بقلياشة أنا كو هدلايا مجمع من الصورة Somali Chamber of Commerce وحن ذي هاي ومهندسين بقولك وبقول waxaa caawa sharaf noo ah in nala joogo Mr. Bill Blesser oo Minnesota Chamber of Commerce interim president-ga ah oo caawa guest speaker-keena ah. Thank you. Siduu noo sheegayna insha Allah ta'ala waa noo furan tahay. I want to say thank you for your distinguished guests we have tonight. I'm very happy, humble and honored to say you thank you very much to coming tonight. Behalf of Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce, we have a guest speaker tonight, Mr. Bill Blesser, Minnesota Chamber of Commerce interim president. He will be our keynote speaker tonight. Thank you for coming tonight.
waa tahay haddana waxaan idin leeyahay dhammaantiin idinkoo mahadsan waan cashaynaynaa markaan cashayna ka bacdina waa isu soo noqonaynaa cashadu inoo furan waxaan rajaynayaa inaad cashadu ay wanaagsaneed welina ay socoto halkaasna inooga sii socon doonto asaasiga muhiimka ah inay iyadu dhexdeeda ganacsi ka samayso istaakulayso iskuna tiirsanaato si loo helo markaasi adeeg bulshada dhexdeeda ka abuurma kaasi oo baahi tira hadba baahidaasi bulshadu ay qabto meeshaasi ay ku cusub tahay soo degtay haddaba waxaan qaybtan kaga warramaynaa abuuritaanka ganacsi isla markaasina ganacsi miro dhal noqon kara kaasi oo bulshada cusub ay abuuri karto qaybtan waxa ay nooga hadlaya isla markaasina aan jeclahay inaan microphone-ka igula soo dhaweysaan ganacsade ka mid ah ganacsatada Soomaaliyeed ku najaxay ganacsigooda gobolka Minnesota waa Master Siyaad Abdullahi Siyaad Soro.
Thank you very much, our Master of Ceremony. I also want to acknowledge and thank the Executive Director of the Minnesota Chamber, who is with us. I also want to acknowledge our brother Bruce Corey from Concordia University, who I've worked with for almost 10 years now in the Twin Cities business community that has a lot of love for supporting new immigrants, has done tremendous amount of work in terms of research in the emerging markets, as we call it. There are also several other leaders from the Somali community. I saw Shafi here. I see Sheikh Abdurrahman Adan. If I haven't mentioned your name, please, I apologize. But there are several of you here. I want to thank the organizing committee who put this beautiful event together. I know many people have probably volunteered to put this together, so I want to thank all of you for doing that. My remarks are pretty few. As many people know, the Somali community is now part and parcel of the fabric of the Minnesota society. We're not necessarily new anymore. The state now has newer immigrants, newer refugees. For those of us who are in the social service sectors, whether you're in business or you're in county work, you know that there's a lot of immigrants now from Southeast Asia. There's Kareni and there's Karen and there's Burmese. So there's new flavors of refugees coming from other places. Our community has now been here for at least almost 2 decades strong. So it's time that even our businesses get on this mainstream matrix where we have to mature because we're not the new kids on the block anymore. And that goes with an element of changing our business model. So that's what my few remarks would be about. Most immigrants, when you come, not only Somalis, but every new immigrant in this country, whether you're in New York or you're in Boston or Minneapolis, there are certain jobs that attract immigrants. And there are certain businesses that attract immigrants. Cab driving, nursing homes, service industries such as restaurants. It's a great thing. If you look at the Jamaican community or in the Bronx, if you look at the Indian community in New York, if you look at the Jewish community, it's the same metamorphosis, right? Then they give birth to the lawyers, the doctors, that start the medical device companies, that end up having the patents. But they all started out of the sons of cab drivers, and the sons of seamstresses, tailors. So the story is a typical American immigrant story, right? It's not unique to us. But the challenge now for the Somali community in Minnesota and everywhere where we are is to start mainstreaming our businesses. It's really the next big phase, right? It's not just restaurants anymore. We really have to see creativity now. Since we have young graduates from schools, now we have almost an adult second generation immigrants, young guys who've never seen Somalia or Kenya, for instance. This is the challenge to them. is how now we take this to the next level. But there's also something to celebrate. So that's the challenge. I want to start with a challenge. The challenge is now we have to really do something big. But we also have to celebrate the present. Our brother Mahmoud Abdurrahman has done a phenomenal thing. I want to congratulate him. The chamber is a great concept. I remember Bruce and I, about 10 years ago, maybe 8, close to 10 years ago, I would think. I haven't not quite dated it. But we got together. It was about 6, 7 of us. We sat in a coffee shop on University Avenue. And I remember we said, there's a lot of change happening in Africa. And I think at the time, our late good friend, Brother Hussein, was part of the conversation, Hussein Samatra. I remember there was Michael from Gala, Michael Essien, a couple of guys from Nigeria who is a patent attorney in the group. We got together, and I was fairly new to the state. And we said, we want to showcase Africa as a business marketplace. And just 6, 7 of us, Bruce was helping us at the time. And in about 3 months, in about 2 months, 2.5 months, we had 46 African ambassadors at Humphrey. Phenomenal. And we had Governor Polenti at the time come, and we had the Minnesota Trade Commissioner, Barbara Yanich, come, and we had the Cargill CEO come. Phenomenal work. Just 6, 7 people in a coffee shop. And this was what we called at the time the Pan-African Business Alliance. And many of us, had our careers and our businesses. So we sort of fragmented and did our own thing. But it's great to see that now there is an actual ethnic chamber that focuses on the Somali community. So I want to encourage everyone, as I have and others have, you have to join it, support it. Don't go start another one. This is the problem we have to stop. That is the challenge that this community needs to metamorphose and evolve into what I call symbiotic business culture. You have to learn to do business with one another, not against one another. This is critical. If someone has a business, and in business school we used to call this the food chain. There's something called a value chain. So if you have a bakery, right, you need bread. Someone needs to make the dough, right? But it's actually not a cake or a bread until someone puts the value proposition and bakes it and brands it and packages it and puts it into a shelf. Instead of trying to sell the same bread, go in the chain and become the supplier of the bread. This is what Somalis needs to figure out. Don't start something else duplicating your brother or your sister next door. Right? Do something different that can supply a service to them. And then come to me or him or anyone else or the sisters and say, you have this kind of business, I'm sure you buy this kind of service. Instead of giving it to someone else, buy it from me. Then it's easy. This is how every other community has evolved. Now, we have to stop this cockroach phenomenon where if so-and-so is doing well, we gotta just all scramble and pull him down. That's just gotta stop. It's old, and it's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. So if someone has a mosque and it's successful, don't open another mosque next to them. It's even happening in the faith community. It's amazing. It's not only the businesses. It's also happening in the faith community. I mean, how many mosques can we pray in? Right? So we really have to take this issue seriously and support each other. The final message and the final calling is this whole old age, 100,000 years old clan problem. It's the elephant in the room. Let's not run away from it. Let's embrace it. Let's celebrate it, but let's stop dividing it in the business side of things. right? You don't have to go patronize a restaurant because your clan owns it. Don't go to a halal meat because your clan owns it. Go to it because the service is good. Go to it because you actually get a nice, pleasant service. Speak with your dollar. Let's make the dollar the clan. Right? Go and expect a good service. If you come to my businesses and you don't get the best, I put my cell phone in the front. I tell all my staff in all my offices. I expect in all my companies, people should get the best service, whether they're Hmong or Cantonese or Cambodian, or doesn't matter. We have to start running businesses appropriately. And if you're successful and you're Somali, use your money wisely. Help yourself first, then help your family, save some, get the culture of savings. Please support this chamber and support Mohammed's work and think positive. It's a new year, it's 2015. Let's do something big. If someone is running, help them, don't run against them. This whole thing has to stop. This culture of doing what your brother and sister is doing has to stop, because we have to evolve and become mainstream. If a Somali brother is appointed in some office, hold them responsible and accountable, but not because they are a different clan. Hold them accountable because of the job they're doing. Let's start thinking different. We're in America. We're not in Somalia. We can't get these excuses anymore. 20 years now, we've been here. Let's start holding others responsible and be kind to one another. Because if you're not kind to one another, how will the other people be kind to Somalis? We can't do that. We have to be kind to one another and speak positively of each other. Be positive about our community. When I speak publicly in events, when I speak to public officials in my capacity, I only say nothing but positive about our community. Of course, I'm going to chew us out when we're in gatherings like this, because it's most of us. But we have to defend our communities when we're in the mainstream community, because there's a lot to celebrate. We have kids in honors lists. We're graduating kids in several community colleges, in the universities, to congratulate them. A lot of our ladies work very hard. We have to thank them. So please support this initiative. Think positive. If you have a new business, grow it organically. There's nothing that's going to happen in a day. It won't work. This is not Africa. It's not Somalia. The Minnesota culture is one of humility. Speak softly. Do your work. If you do good work, it shows. It shows. And if you do bad work, it also shows. Do more work than talking. It's going to show. And be kind to one another. Thank you.
aad baad u mahadsan tahay Siyaad Cabdullaahi mar kale waxaan rajaynayaa talooyinkaaga wanaagsan oo masaajidda xataa aad gaarsiisay in la wada qaadan doono and right now I would like to introduce Dr. Bruce Corey of University of Concordia, St. Paul, Minnesota. Welcome, Dr. Bruce.
Good evening. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today. And I greatly appreciate the invitation that my friend Mohammed gave for me to come and say a few words. It's quite a great achievement to have the Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce because as our good friend Siad talked about, it is a great network and a way in which you can grow in wealth. And so I'm honored to be here in the midst of many leaders and want to share a few thoughts today. In the holy book that I read, there's a saying that goes, "In the beginning was the Word." It was not a big light. It was not a big bang. It was the word. And there's power in the word. When I say hate, when I say kill, you get a lot of emotions. And when I say love, and when I say peace, you get a different set of emotions. So our emotions and our feelings get into our words. So when you hear the word Somali, what do you hear? And what do the other people hear? Pardon? Love. Yeah. Peace and love. Right? When I hear the word Somali, I often hear the word entrepreneur. And Somalis are not just business entrepreneurs, they're also social entrepreneurs. So let me say a little thing, what I just heard at my table today. I'm a Hmong person, and I am living in Wisconsin. And I have a problem, I can't speak English. And I have an accident. And I called 911. And I'm speaking only in Hmong. And the call, Kenya, an international person, and he is helping that Hmong person in Wisconsin. Or there is the new Karen refugees who have come here who have to go to the doctor, and they have to explain to them about their sickness, but they can't speak the words. The call comes to him. Not many Minnesotans know the impact this entrepreneurship is having, not only on this street, as you can see in the mall across, or in the storefronts, but you also see it happening at higher and higher levels, and that is something to celebrate, and that's what this chamber is trying to capture, that energy of entrepreneurship. But you also see the social entrepreneurs like Hashi and other people. I know Fartun is here, and I recently met Faria at our table, who are moving also in other areas of life and creating a lot of new organizations or new concepts that are making our state, Minnesota, a great state. So when I look at that word, and I've been trying to offer Minnesota a word that helps to capture not only the Somali community, but also the African immigrants, also the minorities, and also the immigrants, of using the word of capital. And I'm an economist, so when I hear the word capital, I hear things about productivity, people who are adding wealth. And over the years have been trying to offer this information in the form of numbers, facts, because people like to hear facts. And I'll give you a few facts in a little bit. But to talk to people of how to look at our communities as entrepreneurs, as workers, as global networks of cultural assets, and explore how these assets can grow Minnesota. So some of the numbers that you can find on my website, ethniccapital.com, I will say for the buying power, for instance, of Somalis in Minnesota. This is a low estimate because we don't have a good measure of the population. The census says, I think, 40,000, but I just went and looked at the school children who speak Somalis, and I think there were over 30,000. So just the children in the schools are more than what the census is saying. So the numbers are wrong, but based on the census numbers, because that's what Uncle Sam produces, these numbers are there. And if you look at the community pays, at least if you take 11.5% of income, about 75 million in taxes. If you take all the children in the schools, and if all the children graduate with a BA degree, their lifetime potential is $23 billion. That's the wealth. If Minnesota is looking as an investment opportunity, that wealth is going to give 11.5% tax every year when they are working, at least. So a lot of people rent houses. Every month they put $7 million to somebody's pocket, some landlord's pocket. And so we are trying to capture this power, and I want to introduce my colleague here, Jean Jiljalu of African Economic Development Solution. But over the past, from August to about today, we put over 200 hours or more just going in volunteer time and in weekend time, but we are working on a study on the African market potential in the metro area. And so with help like people like Mahmoud and Fartoon and others, we have collected about 500 surveys of various African immigrant communities and over 135 business surveys. And we're going to aggregate that into information, and we're going to share it, and we'd like to come back to the chamber to share with you the results, because as Mohammed said, as Siad said, the mainstream market is where you have to grow if you want to become more successful. And so Jean has been championing the concept of Little Africa. It's where you would have a virtual network connecting all the different African immigrant businesses so that, and cultural assets, so we can get market and brand the community into a larger context. I want to acknowledge Nasibu here, with the African Development Center, who does a lot of good work with the community too. And so with the community, we can do a lot of things. One of the interesting things that we ask people also is how they voted, whether did they vote in the last election. And I found, when I was looking at some of the data, I found that even people who their main form of transportation is public transit, like LRT, they have high percentage who say they voted. And we also have information on the female entrepreneurs that we can, I know people like Fartoon and others are trying to build entrepreneurship, that we will work together to create that momentum. Finally, I just want to tell you about another survey we were involved with, because it's important to the community, because I think the Somali community may be the most politically active community among African immigrants. So what we did was, it's the stereotype that the minority immigrant, we call ALANA, African, Latino, Asian, Native American communities, that they don't vote. And we've been trying to get people to include these communities in exit polls, but even those big people you see on the TV, they have no time to talk to us about this. I tried many times to talk to the biggest guru in the land, whether he could do this. So a few days before the last election, we said, let's try it. So a group of about 15 partners, we did an online poll, and we got over 300 people who did the poll. We asked them questions: did you vote? And then what are your top issues? And we found people from over 60, we have people from over 66 cities, and with 85 House districts, 43 Senate districts. And these people are very highly engaged. They hosted fundraisers, like some of you in the room have done for the top people. They have engaged with the parties, but they've also identified their priorities, being jobs, closing the achievement gap, business development, healthcare, immigration. These are among the top priorities, they said. So we want to take that information back to the policymakers and ask them to support and hear the voice of the community. So finally, my closing thought is that I know a lot of Somali communities like to listen to NPR, it's a popular radio station. There's a different twist on the word NPR: money, power, and relationships. And I think, like Siad said, this chamber can be that NPR. You can take the money, focus on the power, and build relationships with each other, because together we can be strong. So thank you very much for this honor to be here.
Bruce Corey. Runtii hadallada dhiirigelinta leh ee aan ka maqlay doctorka waxay nagelinayaan idadiila ah in waxyaabo fara badan oo markii la weydiiyay su'aasha Soomaalida maxaad ku taqaanaan aad ka baqsateen inaad ka jawaabtaan qofku yiri nabad iyo jacayl waana maanaya thank you malaha waxay isla ahayd baa laga yaabaa erayadii saxaafadda Mareykanku way naga dawoodi jirtay baa uu malaha ka hadli rabaa marka waan ku faraxsanahay inuu qolo hal abuur leh nagu tilmaamay oo ganacsiga waliba iyo arrimaha bulshada ku wanaagsan marka aad bay ii dhiirigelinaysaa dabcan inaan mataqaanaa Soomaaliya haddaan nahay wax badan qabsanayno haatana waxaan jeclaan lahaa inaan soo dhaweeyo aad ila soo dhaweysaan gabar kamid ah gabdhaha Soomaaliyeed waan ognahay oo gabdhuhu waa hal abuurka bulshada Soomaaliya haddii Soomaaliyeed maqashaan waa gabdhaha hortoodna ma inaan jirin dabadeedna ma filayo inaan jiri doono marka waxaad ila soo dhaweysaan Farxiyo Faarax oo kamid ah ganacsatada Soomaaliyeed ee ku dhaqan gobolkan oo ganacsiga iyo haweenka dabcan aan filayo inay ka warrami doonto Farxiyo soo dhawow ila soo dhaweey.
It gives me great pleasure to be here this evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Mahmoud, for the invitation. Iga raali ahada xogo 3-5 minutes alagu dhahay ka hadal arrimaha ku xisaabsan hablaha Soomaalida ganacsatada and of English ku hadlaa. Ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to be here this evening. This is such a wonderful, wonderful concept, and I support it full-heartedly. I was asked to talk a little bit about the success, the trials, and the tribulations of the Somali businesswoman. Minnesotans, we've been here for almost 20 to 25 years. And in those years, Minnesota has experienced a Somali businesswoman who is hardworking, determined, high-spirited, resilient individual who has made us mighty proud. When I think about a Somalian businesswoman, this is the concept that comes to my head, the picture. I think about a woman who is thrown in a bull pit and is told to grab that bull by its horn, and we have done it. We have been exposed to an environment with language difficulties, cultural misunderstandings, religions, and race difficulties, issues, with a labor market that we don't understand, with rules and regulations that's beyond our comprehension, and yet we succeeded. Anybody who understands anything about women, it doesn't matter whether it's Somalian woman or Asian woman or European woman or African woman, knows that investing in a woman is an investment in the future. It has been demonstrated over and over, and in fact, people have won Nobel Prizes about it. When a woman is empowered, her children are empowered, their future is secured. This has been proven whether it's marginalized or non-marginalized community. When you think about the Somali woman, the spirit she has, no matter how much education you receive, this is not something you can learn in a class. It's in our DNA. It doesn't surprise me that they say when you think about Somali, you think of an interpreter, an entrepreneur. It does not surprise me. And it will be an incredible loss of opportunity if we don't harness and cultivate and invest in that spirit, especially for our subsequent second and third and fourth generations. You know, if you're a farmer and you are given an option to cultivate in a land that is fertile with great rainfall, or in a land that is semi-arid with very little rain, you will go for the land that is fertile with heavy rainfall because you know it will grow. This is the Somalian woman. Invest in her. She will produce. We have shown it and we will continue to show that. Now, I am a trained researcher, and when I was asked to talk about the successes and the challenges of the Somali women, of course, the first thing I did is look at scholarly work, so I can talk about this subject intelligently. But unfortunately, even after all the searches I have done, I only found one paper by Center for Urban and Regional Affairs, and this is a challenge that I throw out to the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce and a good old professor. We have to look at the Somalian women and their contribution. Because if you don't do a sufficient needs assessment and understanding how to support this community, then we cannot create programs and policies that will invest in them. Some of the challenges, I've been in business, my husband has been in business for a long time, and I've been in businesses in a long time. If you Google my name, if there's such a tool in Secretary of State, you will be surprised at how many businesses I have formed and failed, and some have succeeded. And from my own anecdotal experiences, I will tell you some of the challenges I have seen and some of the enduring problems that we have. The greatest one, in my opinion, is lack of financial capital. I am so happy to see Nasib and our colleagues from African Economic Solutions. They have done such incredible work. I remember in 2004 sitting in ADC learning how to write a business plan. And that skill has helped me tremendously. When you look at the Somali women and Somali men businesses, according to the research paper that I read, and also from my own anecdotal experiences, it seems to me that the Somali men have more structured businesses, they have more formal companies in comparison to Somali women that are functioning in an informal environment. The other big challenges we have is closed market. We haven't yet figured out how to open our markets to the mainstream community. I used to be a regulator. One of the biggest frustrations I have seen is lack of understanding of arbitration system. I feel if I were to look closely at our community, you will find an incredible amount of lost wealth created what I call illiterate tax. It's a community that is heavily fined, incredible violations, citations, and penalties. And this is not because we like to not follow rules, and it's because lack of education and not knowing the regulatory framework. You know, we learn after we make mistakes. You realize you have all this mail coming from IRS and the likes with all these penalties and an exuberant amount of interest. I have seen many of my colleagues and friends suffer from it and close businesses. I've even heard folks say, if I had known the challenges of this entity, I would not have even bothered to start this business. And I think these are some of the challenges that this association can preempt, that way we make sure we have our spirits high and we grow big, greater, and larger. Well, with that, when I was asked to give a little talk about Somali women, I was told you only have 3 to 4 minutes. Well, you know what? I should have challenged him and said, dude, we need half the schedule, you know, the agenda. Because that's the way, you know. Well, I'm very pleased to be here. I hope we all support. I said to my friend Sarah, who I just met, and she's a research policy analyst for Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. And I asked Sarah, I said, Sarah, who funds your job? And she said, oh, well, members. And I said, ooh, dear, we got our work cut out. So members, your money, your membership fee is what will pay for us, pave way for us. Please, let's broaden our thinking, think large, and make this happen, because this is the future. Thank you very much.
badan in lahayna siyaado kale warka aad baad u maasan tahay waxaan jeclahay inaad ila soo dhaweysaan agaasimaha guud rugtan ganacsiga Soomaaliyeed Minnesota saaxiibkay mudane Maxamuud Cabdiraxmaan Sheekh Faarax Benabene.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. marka hore dhammaan marti sharafta aqoon-yahanada ganacsatada culimada imaamyada gabdhaha wiilasha salaamullaahi calaykum waraxmatullaahi wabarakaatuh. marka xigta waxaan rabaa ilaah baa mahad leh caawa noo suuro geliyay in barnaamijkeena si sharaf leh uu noogu dhaco waxaa sharaf leh dadkii ka soo qayb galay oo invitationkii aynu u ka codsanay inay ka soo qayb galaan caawa inoo yimid oo halkan soo buuxiyay dhammaantiin thank you very much. I want also to thank Interim President Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, Bill Plazer. Let's give a clap, please. We have distinguished guests. Also, I want to thank Dr. Bruce Corey of University of Concordia, Sambor. Brother Hussein Khadib, Mr. Jean, a great friend of mine. Sarah, she's a researcher of Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. Michael, another friend of ours, thank you. And many others, Matt, MB Singh, I can't say everybody, but I want to thank everybody who are here, who have attended our gala dinner, our first anniversary of Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce. Also, I want to thank for our members, the asset we have, our investors. You pay us dues or membership fee, that's what we use to support our operation. Thank you very much, everybody who give us membership or give us a sponsorship, everybody, thank you for. Then I will talk Somali language. Anybody who is sitting with our non-Somali speaking people, please explain what I'm talking to them. dhammaantiin waa mahadsantihiin waxaan rabaa si gooni inaan ugu mahad celiyo dadka sharafta leh ee memberska Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce oo caawa halkan soo buuxiyay si gooni adinka sharaf u leh reason-kana waxay tahay magac waxba ma tare waxa wax taro magac oo shaqeeyo Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce waa magac shaqeeyay inuu shaqeeyana adinka ehel u ah adinka support u ah because of that ma hadda adinka mudan waa mahadsantihiin marka ilaahay oo noo suuro geliyay laga reebo mid labaad adinka mahadsan waxaan rabaa sidoo kale inaan u mahad celiyo dadkiina sponsor gareeyay dadkii dhaqaalaha na siiyay inay eventiga guuleysato waxaan rabaa nin kasta oo aan sheega ama company kasta aan sheega inay istaagaan insha Allah iguna sacbiya please haddii kale next year de lacagna lama siinay Soomaa Medina Realtor. Thank you very much. Thanks for your sponsorship. You are an asset to our community. Thank you. Olympic حوالد Olympic إنه مقيهم في الأسجن يقوم. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Also, separate properties. oo asagana business-da Soomaalida ee ugu badan caramel intaan cater gareeya ama home ku ah cid nagala joogto mala halkaan asagana waa mahadsan yahay family care transportation madaxdeeda waa kuwaas waa gabdhahaas cadcad ee quruxsan waa mahadsantiin thank you very much also waxaan rabaa inaan u mahad celiyo xafiiska lawyerka weyn ee Soomaaliyeed Cabdinaasir oo caawa naga cudur daartay Brother Farouk oo halkan nala jooga Farouk Singili waa Turkish Somali Friendship Association. Thank you very much. Thank you. ADC, African Development Center. Brother Nasiru, thank you very much. I'm sorry I have left your name before. Thank you again. Thank you very much. waa mahadsantiin waxaan rabaa markii arinteen iyo waxaan rabaa inaan u mahad celiyo media haddaadan u mahad celin hadda wax kale ka sheegi karaan soo mogdi soo media in laga baqo waa mahadsantiin adinkana waxaan rabaa inaan arinteen guud gola Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce inaan background-keeda idin sheego June 6 2013 waxaa ganacsato Soomaaliyeed inay isku imaadeen ka hadleen baahida ay qabaan oo ah inay yeeshaan meel ay ku wada hadlaan meel ay isku support gareeyaan meel ay networking ku suubiyaan resource center u ah iskuna bartaan oo aniga oo company transportation leh iyo nasro oo leh farmashi iyo cali ama safari oo abaadir oo safari leh meel ay ku wada hadli karaan oo aynu isku baran karno oo aan insider training ku subin karno platformkan oo kale hore muusan u jirin waxaa bilaabay wiilal iyo gabdho ganacsato Soomaaliyeed it was initiative aragtideedana ay lahayd baahida always baahi markay timaada solution la helaa sidaas darteedaan isugu nimid ideadan aan aad ugu hadalnay finally islaantii ama gabadhii way foolatay MSCCX oo ay dhashay marka waa Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce so June 6 2013 marka sidaas loo eego sanad waa ka badana laakiin ogaada waxa ideada markay cusub tahay ma sal dhigan karto waxay u baahan tahay xoogaa time badan in la geliyo in awareness iyo education la sameeyo waqti badan bay qaadatay so because of that operation kana January 2014 kii uu bilowday 1 year caawa jirsanay marka loo eego intaan jirnay laakiin sanadkaas maxaanu qabanay reason kan u aasnayna ma ahayn baahi kaligeed laakiin arrin kale idin sheegaa Soomaalida Minnesota way tageen inkastoo jiritaankeena 20 sano bis uu yahay ama 90meeyadii aynu ku soo biirnay reer Minnesota waxa ogaataan inaan very visible community oo aan la qarin karin inaan nahay siyaasad ahaan oo waad aragtaan de vote-keena iyo power-keenu leenahay waxaynu fikirnay dadkeena economic ama dhaqaalaha ku lug leh inaan annagana ismuujino oo aan sida vote iyo political visibility Soomaalida ay u leedahay si la mid ah equally inaynu u soo baxdo dad ganacsato Soomaaliyeed oo inay isku tagaan waxyaabo aan la imagine garin karin samayn karo that was a good beginning of idea ka dambeysay dadkan kumanaanka Soomaali ah ee moolasha caramel iyo 24 iyo 1000 other businesses around Minnesota leh in ay lahaan waayaan meel ay ku wada hadlaan oo ay cududooda iyo dadnimadooda kaga hadlaan inay dadnimo xumo ay tahay sidaas aawadeed baynu waxaynu suubinay association qof kasta xubin ka yahay aqligiisa iyo dadnimadiisa iyo xigmadiisa inuu ku daro wax weyn ku soo kordhin kara not only Soomaalideena but also greater Minnesota inaan dadnimadeena iyo aqligeena inaan ku soo kordhin karno ogaada dad asad u ahaanahay Minnesota taxpayers anahay we are that powerful engine cusub oo Minnesota ku soo biiranahay waxaan nahay dad dhaqaalaha workforce shaqaale iyo dhaqaale iyo human capital markay noqoto ku soo daray Minnesota dad liability ku ah manihin dad deyn ku ah Minnesota manihin dad asad u ahana we pay taxes we are workforce we are educated people that professionals or all industrial engineers doctors any area of discipline our Somali community ku jirta ganacsatada sidaas si lamid ah waxaan ka bilawnay business yaryar haddana waxaad arkaysaan dad mainstream ka serve gareynaya ayaa jooga caawa waxaa halkan nala jooga a good example oo la taaban karo muuqdo our brother Kahin igu sacbiyo ninkaas Kahin business uu sameeyay iska daa Soomaaliya mainstream ka kaga badan Soomaalida adeegato aqliga iyo dadnimada iyo standardka uu keenay dartiis businesskiisa layerkii koowaad inuu ka baxay centerkii koowaad way guuleysatay midii labaad hadda la furiyaa January insha Allah thank you are doing a great job Kahin waa member qaali ku ah Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce board member keenan uu yahay waa nin hal abuur badan waa maasantahay Kahin we are so proud of you waxaan rabaa marka sanadkii aynu jirnay maxaan soo qabanay maxaan faa'iidnay waxaynu faa'iidnay inaan shaqadan nagu cusub in aynu hoos ka soo bilaawno isbarano resource center inaan sameeyno meel Soomaalida qof kasto xog raadinayo inaan isku raadino example idin sheega qofa wuxuu raadinayaa business oo san aragtideeda heedin annaga awood aynu kula talin karna ma lihin oo consultancy oo level kaas ah but we can do one thing marka ii sheegtid waxa u baahan tahay I already know that kaleento area-dan ku jirto I can call qof kaleento oo already business kan ku guuleystay and that person ku caawin kara processkii dhaa wixii u baahnaa long term oo sanadkaaga baahnaa bila ku soo gabagabin kartaa because another Somali brother or sister are already shaqadan ku soo daalay so he can help you so waxaan sameynaa hook up oo resource noocaas leeg issues ka aan qabanay maxay tahay xiriir lixaad la waxaan dhisnay as Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce dawladda Minnesota State Government-ga city level xiriir fiican aan leenahay hay'ad ma shaqeyn karto hay'adaha dawladda hadaysan xiriir la lahayn waxaynu sameynay Minneapolis maayaradda markii la doortay immediately waynu kulanay waxaynu dhahnay waxaan rabnaa inaan kula fariisano waxaan la kulan siinay community Soomaalida gabdhaha ugu horeeyaan 45 gabar oo Caramel area business kula alla kulmeen waxay kala hadleen public safety-ga Caramel area-diis inaysan safe ahayn in u baahanahay police round gareeyo waa ogeeyeen wiil Soomaaliyo ganacsataa lagu dilay waynu kala hadalnay waxaynu kala hadalnay small loan sidoo loo heli karo waxaynu kala hadalnay in loaniska requirement-gooda way adag tahay community cusub inagoo kala oo 20 sano ka yar joogto shuruudahaas ma ka bixi karto waxaan si dhab kala hadalnay immigrant cusub aan nahay waxaan u baahanahay in ruleska iyo regulationka tailor made in customized lagu suubiyo oo dad immigrants cusub sideenoo kala dadaalay ay ka faa'iideysan karaan ID-daas aaday ula dhacday waxaan xasuustaa maalintii Mayor Betsy Hodges ee la hadlaysay unionka waxyaabihii talooyinka aynu ku siinay ay khudbadeeda ku soo dartay waxay dhahday shuruucdan dib baa loogu noqonayaa in a way that can accommodate dadka immigrants cusub ee anagoo kaleenta ah inay baahidooda ay dabooli karaan waxyaabaha aynu suubinay sanadkii waxaa ka mid ah in aynu aad u advocate garaynay xawaaladihii lagu dhagnaa ee problemka haystay in aynu aad u advocate garaynay meel kasto inaan xawaaladahaas la xilin lifeline-ka Somali people oo dhan inay tahay hooyaday iyo aabahay iyo walaalahay oo dhan oo Soomaaliya jira biilkooda inaan la jari karin individual qofka ma difaaci karo qof business leh taa ma difaaci karo organization leh Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce ka mid ah waxaan la hadlay oo noo yimid Minnesota Preface oo ahaa ninkii Secretary of Labor markaan la kulmay waxyaabahan kala hadlo waxay ahayd hal issue waxaan ka codsanayaa in shaqo abuurisa u socotaa baan ku dhahay Minnesota waxaad u timid inaad promote gareysid more jobs laakiin waxaan ka xumahay inaan kugu wargelino in community-geena ay lose gareynayaan 2 bilood soo socota 400 ilaa 500 oo shaqaale reason-ka markuu ii weydiiyay waxaan ku dhahay adiga ma aha sababta laakiin ninka adiga wasaaradda treasury-ga ah ee adiga kula shaqeeya cabinet-kiina ka mid ah shuruucda uu soo saaraya ayaa waxay ku adkeynayaan in dadkeena money remittances-ka ku jiro shuruuc adag in la soo saaro oo ay xirmaan ninkii wuxuu iga ballan qaaday galabtii kulanka ugu soo horeeyo aynu leenahay waxaan ballan ka qaaday inaan gaarsiin doono in shuruucdaas wax laga qabto ama la fududeeyo sidoo kale waxaan rabaa inaan u mahad celiyo Congress Keith Ellison always supporting the community Soomaalida everybody oo usuubiyo iyo ganacsatada kulli sidoo kale wuxuu aad nagala shaqeeyay in sharcigan Congress-ka sharci facilitate gareynaya shuruucda in la soo saaro isaga Eric Paulson iyo nin laga soo dorto Wisconsin dadka noocaas oo kale waa dadka nolosheena waxyaabaha taabanaya kaalinka geysta always waxaan u baahanahay inaan u mahad celino waxaan rabaa sidoo kale inaan idinla share gareeyo in so issues-ka aynu advocate gareyno in qadiyad kasto oo Somali business taaban karto oo u baahan advocacy organization ahaan iyo resource ahaan inaan isku keeno not sometimes capacity-gaas ma lihin laakiin hal mid aan leenahay we know how to go about it sidaan waxaan u xalin lahayn waa naqaanaa cali oo xariif ku ah lawyer-nimo iyo caasho oo xariif ku ah aqoon kaleento khatar ah iyo our sister farxi oo kaleento highly educated aan isku keenaynaa gas waxa ka soo baxayo maskax culus baa ka soo bixayso so they can advocate our issues keena in a very professional manner arintaas iyo wax la mid ayaan sameyn karnaa walaalayaal waxaan idin sheegayaa Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce wuxuu u baahan yahay supportigiina wuxuu u baahan yahay inaad isbiriid gareysaan magacaan waxaan rabnaa qof kastoo Soomaali oo ganacsi ku lug leh inaad member ka noqotid xubin ka noqo talo ku soo biiri leader ka noqo that is way habka aan ku hormari karno one thing we started small we are getting bigger waana sii weynaanaynaa big organization aan noqonaynaa Minnesota wax badan aan ku soo kordhinaynaa Minnesota waxaan rabnaa wax nature-keena firfircoon ee Soomaalinimada oo entrepreneur-ka ah nature-keena aragtida fog leh oo mararka qaarkood individual ayaan nahay laakiin waxaan u baahannahay waxaas inaan macno u yeelno group ka dhigno oo aan Minnesota ku hormarino Minnesota waxaa la rabaa badi ahaanshaheena maadaama aynu degannahay in example-ada ay Minnesota ku faanayso dadka annaga inay noqono and we can do it soo ma noqon karno yes hoosa u dhahdeen soo ma noqon karno war xay iska dhigday waa mahadsantihiin I want to thank everybody oo caawa ka soo qayb gala cashadan qof kasto oo halkan yimid oo first anniversary-geena Minnesota Somali Chamber of Commerce nagala soo qayb galay waxaan rabnaa inaad mar kasta na taageertaan. Thank you very much. Thanks Bill Blazer, our keynote speaker here. Thank you everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
waa tahay Jalla Maxamuud aad baad u mahadsan tahay haddana waxaad ila soo dhaweysaan Sheekh Cabdiraxmaan Shariif oo ah imaamka masjidka Darul Hijra dabcan waxa uu ka warrami doonaa islaamka iyo maalgashiga Sheekh Cabdiraxmaan Saro
aad baad u mahadsan tihiin dadkiina ka soo qayb galay dadka soo qaban qaabi aad u mahadsan yihiin mid idinku mahad celin mahayo maxaa jira qof walba oo sharaf leh ayaa meesha fadhiya rag iyo dumarba marka aad iyo aad baad u mahadsan tihiin idinkoo dhan mar raba in aad u dheereeyo waxaana doonayaa inaan intayda xooggeeda ka dhigay iyadana Soomaali marka waxaan rabaa dadka ku hadlaya afkaan Soomaaliga ahayn inay bartaan hadda kadib Soomaaliga maxaa jira annaga way ugu khasbaneen Ingiriiska barannay oo waan barannay moogtaa marka they have to learn to speak Somali and they have to learn to write Somali. When we came here we learn English, we write English, we say English, right? Then they have to do that also. That's a little bit joke maybe. Another one is iyadana qasal kale caawna waxaan ka hadlay Soomaalida wanaageeda Soomaha dad fiican baa tihiin oo inuu nahay bari baan Kenya waxaan kula kulmay ninkii Yatia oo dadkeena markaa soo qaxnay oo dagaal u dhaceen waa kii la wada qaxay marka Kenya aanu qaxay marka magaalada Mombasa ayaa waxaan kula kulmay ninkii Yatia marka waan yara sheekaysanay marka wuxuu igu yiri arrin la yaab leh marka isagu Carabi buu ku hadlayay marka Carabiga aan ku sheekaysanaynay marka dhageyso wuxuu yiri يا أخي عبد الرحمن الصوماليون استيقظوا قبل الفجر الصوماليون استيقظوا قبل الفجر ما قرنيش أمرك يا رجال وحول الصومالي وصلاة الصبح كهر بيت وسامبوري صلاة الصبح كهر أيه توسامبوري بحاجة وضعك أنا قو أنكر دارنا يجا نجا قانون هذا يميلوا بيجا قلي يميلوا بيجا فريا يميلوا بيجا سمي بركي يجا نجا قانون ديك أنكر دارنا أصلا يعني ما كدت في عم بيننا سومها أو عقلك الله أبورو مالها الله فرو يا ضروري في عنها هاي مركتها وتكون أمانتين حقيقة وكرتوية وضنموية ضد أنت سوق حان يقول الله جاي أبو عرور تودي يويل كودي يعدوا البوضة أي مدان عملاض يقول كنوعنا هذا كسمة يوحى وناكسن في عن مركات بدون ما هتسنتهين وناك بدون بعد سميسان كرتيب بدون ويا أقام بدون ويا marka taa horta inaan sii hormarino waan idin kula dardaarmi insha Allah taala talabaadeen doonayna waxa ka yiraahdo marka waa tan waxa weeye islaamku waa diin u timid bini aadamka maslaxadiisa aakhiriya adduunba waxyaabaha ugu qiimaha badan waxa kamid ah marka islaamku uu qiimeynayo xoolaha haddii insaanku uu xoolo sameeyo xoolahana wada sax uu ku sameeyo insaankaas isna waxbuu istaraya bini aadamkana waxbuu taraya lidalika waxa yiraahdaan dadka aad uga sheekeeya xoolo la'aanta iyo faqriga dhibka ay keento waxa yiraahdaan fiiri afwax cunaaxisho qofku markuu wax ku siiyo uu wax weyn kuma dhiiran kartid waxa kale oo la yiraahdaa marka carabi lagu hadlayo al-aynu basira واليد قصيرة إيش مال فوق بي وحكا رجتا قعنتنا إير بي جارتا معنى هذا كلام مرك محل جوضا واحد بدن أو لجيا أبو إن أتصميسن كرتو أو أتقبسن كرتو هدي أنا الحول لهين مسمين كرتين سدا درتت إن أنت يسوت تجان جروب للي يراه ولني يقبله رجي الدمر أي هذا واحد رمينا organization أبورنه إن أورر أبورنه أورر كاسنا أو أوروريو لقالها تذكره dadka ganacsiga ku jira dadka aqoonta iyo professionalka inuu ururiyo inuu isu geeyo in contribution yar iyo membership yar aan sameeyno inaan sameeyno waxa weeye intaas qiimo badan bay sameynaysaa dhowr jeer dadku waxa iga maqlaan aniga ugu maahmaahaya cadayaan yar oo la yiraahdo aboorku aad buu yar yahay markuu isu tagayna dundun buu sameeyay haddii marka membershipka intaad kordhisaan oo 100 200 300 400 xubnood aad gaarsiisaan oo inu gaarsiino kadib cid waliba ay contribution iyo membership ay samayso wuxuu noqonayaa lacag aad meeshan aan joognana investment lagaga sameeyo laabi lagu galo gudihiina wax lagaga tara ayuu noqonayaa sidaa darteed arrintaas ah in dhaqaale la abuuraahu waa arrin muhiim oo lagama maarmaana weeye diinta islaamku sida u ammaanayso xoolaha iyo in si fiican loo abuuro waxaa jira xadiid uu nabigu leeyahay calayhi salaatu wasalaam xoolo wanaagsan oo saalixa oo addoon wanaagsan u sugan waa nicmo ilaahay subxaanahu wa tacaala xoolo saalixa ama xoolo xalaal ah oo haddana addoon wanaagsan gacantiisa ku jira marka waxaan rabnaa xooluhu in la abuuro in la uruuriyo in la isu keeno in kadibna lagu galo hadayto maxamuud wuxuu ka shanqarinayay in ay la fariisteen dad ay la kulmeen dad ay dad waxaasoo dhan waxaa keenaya marka waa power waddamadan aan joogno xooluhu waa power iyo awood weeyaan maxaa jira markaad organization urur leedahay waxaa laga yaabaa inaad ku geli karta laabi xoolahaaga waa qayb weeye markaad doonayso inaad aad xoolo leedahay waxaad samaynaysaa dad fara badan baad waxaad ku caawinaysaa inay wax bartaan markaad xoolo leedahay ood waxaad saacidi kartaa ummad kale aad kaalmayn kartaa intaas raba in aad u sii dhiirigeliya waa intan waxa weeye siyaad baa haddaa si fiican isagana u tilmaamay waxaan doonaynaa xoolahan iyo ururkiinan ama ururkan hadda Minnesota Somali muxuu ahaa Chambers isu yimidu inuu noqdo new insurance inuu idiin noqdo oo insurance-ga reeheba laga baxo maxaa jira insurance-ga reehebalku meel laguma gaaro waana ka meesha ina dhigay idin dhigay weeyaan marka in insurance intuu noqdo aad tiraahdaan waxaan doonaynaa dab baa naga dhaxaysa maslaxa isu kaaga keentay business xoolaan wada leenahay marka qofkan aan businesska wadaagno ayaa aniga iga xiga ka aan reer hebel waa isku sheegan jirnay maxaa jira kaas wax weyn ma tara Soomaha inta badan marka waa wax cusub oo xataa wax lagu nabadeeyo waa wada cusub oo dadka lagu walaaleeyo waa wada cusub oo dadka la isugu keeno weeyaan marka taana inaan ku dadaalo samaysaan waa laga maarmaan oo wax muhiim ah weeyaan inta qasal kale marka waa intan ugu dambaysay aan ku soo xirayo walaalayaalow waxaan rabnaa gabdhuhuna caawaad u mahadsanyihiin xaqiiqatan aad baan ugu faraxsanahay in gabdho fara badan oo businesska iyo ku jira inay joogaan inay gabadh walaasheenu si fiican u hadashay waxaa la hubaa ummadaha ay dumarkoodu aqoonta iyo xoolahaba qayb ka yihiin way ka soo waxsaar iyo dadnimo fiican yihiin ummadaha kaleeto waa xaqiiq la hubo weeye waa wax dhaba weeyaan sidaa darteed waxaan doonaynaa gabdhuhu inay qayb weyn bay awalba ka hayaan ay ka noqdaan ganacsiga iyo dhaqaale samaynta ganacsiga iyo xoolo abuurka ganacsiga iyo ummadda muxuu ahaa wuxuu dhiskeeda inay qayb weyn ka noqdaan baan doonaynaa biidni illaahi tacaala marka arrintan waxaan doonaynaa ragga iyo dumarku intaad iskaalmaysataan in si fiican loo sii wado inta ugu dambaysay aan rabay marka waa intan ninbaa waxaa la yidhi ganacsatuu ahaa marka waa carabtii hore marka wuxuu ka baxay makuu ka tegey marka wuxuu tegey dhulkan hadda loo bixiyey bariga dhexe qayb ka mid a shaam buu tegey marka ninka dhannaa ganacsiga loo dirsaday inuu ummadda wax u keeno wuxuu yimid isagoo asnaam wada dadkaasi waagii hore asnaam ma aqoon isaga ka hor marka hadafkaan u socdaa waa maxay waxaan doonayaa ganacsigeennu inuu noqdo ganacsi qiyam iyo akhlaaq abuura inuu noqdo ganacsi ummadnimo soo kordhiya inuusan noqonin ganacsi ummadda qiyamkeeda baabi'iya marka arrinta ganacsigu waa muhiim waxaan kaloo rabnaa mid walba oo idinka ama inaga mid ah ganacsiga si fiican u yaqaanaahu inuu community-giisii dib u kaalmeeyo dib ugu dhex jiro marka hawshaana waa qayb laga maarmaan iyaduna inaynu samayno walaalayaal markood mahadsantihiin ilaahay subxaanahu wa ta'aala haydin barakeeyo waan ku faraxsanahay nimanka dhalinyarada ee sameeyay organization-kan waan idin taageeraynaa waan idin garab istaagaynaa waan idin la shaqaynaynaa aniga oo ganacsi ahayn baan diyaar u ahay inaan membership idin buuxiyo xubin idin ka noqdo ganacsina ma ihi marka dad fara badan oo sidaas oo kale ah ayaad helaysaan biidni illaahi tacaala laakiin waxaan rabnaa shaqo professional aqoon la ururiyey khibrad la ururiyey xoolo la ururiyey intaa la isu geeyo oo isu geesaan baan doonaynaa wad mahadsantihiin wassalaamu calaykum waraxmatullaahi wabarakaatuh
aad baa u mahadsan tahay sheekh cabdiraxmaan dhinacaa baan fadhiyey markii aad tiri ganacsi mihi dad badanaa isxoqayay mugta waxaa malaha masaajidda ganacsatayaal baa loo malaynayay maaqaan waa tahay aad baad u mahadsan tahay sheekh cabdiraxmaan niman ku kaftanaya maraan maqlayay masaajid cusub baan furanaynaa marka ma aqaan qolooyinkaas inaan ku biirana waa iska fiicnaan lahayd aan malinaya mar kale waad mahadsantihiin dhammaantiin ka soo qaybgalka aad barnaamijkan caawa ee sanad guurada koowaad rugta ganacsiga Soomaalida gobolka Minnesota ka soo qayb gasheen mar kale waqtigiina qiimaha badan waan idinkaga mahadnaqaynaa dabcan dadku waxa la yiri kala madaxsan marka waxa caawa nala joogo dhammaantiin aad ogtihiin qofka ugu muhiimsan kulankan khudbadda ugu muhiimsan lahaa inuu yahay madaxweynaha ku meel gaarka ah ee rugta ganacsiga ee gobolkan Minnesota. So right now I would like to welcome Mr. Bill Blazer, interim president of Minnesota Chambers of Commerce.
I want to start out by thanking you for the invitation to be here tonight to help you celebrate the first anniversary of the Somali Chamber of Commerce. In the course of my work life, I get the chance to speak to all kinds of groups around the state. But I don't think I've been to an event in the last year where I've seen as much enthusiasm as I've seen in this room in the last hour for both building businesses and building our state's economy. So I'm going to try and talk a little bit about what I think the chamber can do, your chamber can do to help companies grow, and a little bit about the opportunities that I see for Somali business owners here in Minnesota. But frankly, anything and everything I say is really pales relative to what you've heard from the previous speakers about their experiences here and their desire to help not only build their businesses, but build this community and build our state's economy. So like I said, I'm honored to be here and to be a part of this evening's activities. So let me do two things. A, talk about the chamber, and B, a little bit about economic opportunities. In terms of the chamber, I am the leader of the Minnesota Chamber. We've been around for about 100 years. And when people ask, well, what does the Minnesota Chamber do? I can sum it up in a word, and basically that word is advocacy. We advocate on two levels. We advocate for the business community as a whole, meaning we go to the state legislature and go to our policymakers and try to convince them to adopt policies that will make Minnesota a better place for every business to start, grow, and succeed. But the other kind of advocacy we do is we work one-on-one with individual companies. We help them solve their problems so that they can be successful in our state. Last year, we worked with about 200 Minnesota companies to solve problems related to doing business in Minnesota. And when I think about the Somali Chamber here in Minnesota, I think that the same model would work well, that you should think of the work of the chamber at these two levels. First, working to represent the community, to make Minnesota a better place, not just for business, but for Somali businesses. And then secondly, to work individually with Somali businesses to help them be more successful and grow in our state. So let me talk a little bit about what those opportunities are for Somali businesses, and then show you how the chamber can perform both of those functions. I see three opportunities relative to the Somali community in Minnesota. First, as workers, second, as entrepreneurs, and then third, as a bridge to the emerging and growing African economy. With respect to workers, one of the realities that we face in Minnesota is that our workforce is getting older. More and more workers are retiring. So we need new workers. And whether it's Somali immigrants or Latinos or folks from any other part of the world, immigrants are key to supplying the workers at all levels of skill. So not just low skilled, not just high skilled, but throughout the workforce. These new Americans are key to making sure that Minnesota businesses are well staffed. So Somalis participate and contribute critically to the worker shortage that our state faces. But frankly, I think your contributions can be much greater in the two other areas, as entrepreneurs and as a bridge to the African economy. First is entrepreneurs. One of the things that I've learned about our state's economy that frankly hasn't changed since, well, for the last century, and that is that it is a homegrown affair. The businesses that have done well here have started here. If you look at all 17 of those Fortune 500 companies that are in Minnesota today, every one of them started here, grew here, did well here. We don't have a lot of established companies moving to Minnesota. So we really depend on entrepreneurs and innovators, folks who will start new enterprises and grow them here. And in the short 20 years that Somalis have been in Minnesota, the track record of entrepreneurship is unparalleled. And I think in the next 20 years, the contributions of your community to this state's economy can grow quite substantially because of your entrepreneurial spirit. It's exactly what Minnesota's economy needs to continue to develop and grow. So, secondly, let's talk about the bridge to Africa. I visit with a lot of companies who struggle with trying to figure out how they're going to grow their company, how they're going to take it to the next level. And a lot of them think about, well, become an exporter. We'll sell our widget or our service to businesses outside the U.S., and more often than not, they think about going to someplace like China or Mexico or Brazil. And as soon as they do that, they discover that they probably should have been thinking about that 20 years ago, that they're really a little bit late to those economies. The opportunity that Minnesota businesses have, if we want to get someplace early and get established in what will be a very substantial market for businesses around the world, is to focus on Africa. The African economy is growing. It's going to, the countries and the communities in Africa will develop middle classes, just as the communities in Asia and South America have done over the last few years. And Minnesota companies are great at serving middle class economies. So there's a huge opportunity coming in Africa. The problem, most Minnesota businesses don't understand the cultures of Africa, nor the languages. One of the opportunities, I think, for the Somali community, beyond entrepreneurship, beyond creating your own businesses that will do business with Africa, is becoming the bridge between Minnesota companies and the emerging opportunities in Africa. So you put those two things together, entrepreneurship and that bridge to Africa, and you can see that Somali businesses can make a quite substantial contribution to Minnesota's economy, not just today, but well into our future. So now let's go back to the role of the Somali Chamber. How can it help? Well, in terms of entrepreneurship, the Chamber, the Somali Chamber, like the Minnesota Chamber, can help your businesses access resources, whether it be the African Development Corporation or the Neighborhood Development Corporation or the Department of Employment and Economic Development. Your entrepreneurial spirit is great and substantial, but there are resources out there that can help to accelerate your ability to grow your businesses. Your chamber can help you access those resources. And I want to put in a plug, if I could, for the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. We have an economic development program, Grow Minnesota, It's that program that helped almost 200 Minnesota companies this last year to do better and be stronger in Minnesota. Grow Minnesota is available to every one of your businesses to help you be more successful in our state. So at the business level, your chamber can help your companies grow. At the community level, when we think about that bridge to Africa, the Somali Chamber can lobby and be a voice for this business community to convince our other economic development organizations about the importance and the growing significance of the African market. Without your voice, I don't think, for example, our World Trade Office will realize or recognize the opportunity that Minnesota companies have in Africa. So whether it's working with companies one-on-one or representing the Somali business community to the larger business community, there's a real and substantial role for the Somali Chamber of Commerce. And I want to make it clear that our organization, the Minnesota Chamber, is here and ready to help your chamber accomplish both of those tasks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bill Blazer. We are so happy that you are here with us tonight. Thank you very much. Mar kale sacabka hal dhinac buu ahaa idinka dhan aan doonayaa inaad dhammaantiin u sacbisaan mar kale. Waa tahay, thank you very much. Dhammaantiin aad baad u mahadsantihiin. Haatanna waxaan jeclahay saaxiibada Soomaalidu dabcan horta maalmahan Minnesota way ka sii fogaanayeen oo waad ogtihiinoo wadankii hooyo Soomaaliya in dhaweydba horumar ayaa ka soo bidhaamayay colaadii waxaad moodaa in laga talaabsanayay. Wadanka Turkiga waxa uu kamid ahaa wadamadii sida gaarka u gurmaday dabcan waad ogtiin madaxweynahoodu xataa inuu booqasho ku tagay Soomaaliya xilli ay adkeed in dadka Soomaaliyeed loo heeliyo mar walba arintaas waan kaga mahadnaqnaa sidaas la mid ah Turkishka degan gobolka Minnesota waxay xiriir wanaagsan la leeyihiin Soomaalida gobolkan degan mudahaba xiriirkaasi uu jiray waxa caawina la jooga madaxweynaha Turkish Somali American Friendship Association oo aan jeclahay inaad ila soo dhaweysaan magaciisu waa Faruq Sinjili. Welcome brother Faruq.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. I thought this will be an account of how our relationship started with and how it went along through the years, but I will try to make it a very short story. And it started as a professional relationship as I was serving as the Vice President of the Assembly of Turkish American Associations. One day we got the news that Turkish then Prime Minister, now President Erdogan, visited a country called Somalia in Africa. And the whole things have changed for me because I was living in Minneapolis, serving in a national organization, Turkish American organization, and I was the contact point of the whole Turkish community of the Diaspora Center of Somali community in the United States. So one thing followed another, and as you well know, we don't have a very active Turkish community, and Turkey has more enemies. Turkish interests are more in threat than support. So when we couldn't find enough support from the Turkish brothers and sisters here, the effects of Mr. Erdogan's visit to Somalia turned out to be as a big support for Turkish interests, and we found the support as we were not looking for them. And it came in Minneapolis. And one day, so in short, what I'm trying to say is this started as business. Now it turned, at least on my part, to a love affair. If you accept, I can go on and on, for how big reception we have in Turkey and, how many. So these are, everybody can read in the papers and the Facebook, and everybody can tell one another if you don't know already. This is a chamber of commerce. I see the energy that put this chamber of commerce in action. I am so happy and proud to be involved in this organization, and I'm thrilled to be invited to speak here to this select group of people. Select in the sense, not you are more important than the rest of the community, but you are the ones who chose to, put the weight on your shoulders to take your community to a brighter future, not only here in Minnesota or rest of the diaspora cities, but also at home, because I know how many of you are traveling back and forth, spending years in your home country, living comfortable and safer, places, just to see your country or your next generations live a better future in their homeland, which is Somalia. So, again, some of you already know that I can speak for hours. I don't want to try you one more time. We, again, started as business. Our relationship turned into a love affair now. I see myself going to the next phase. Another shift is happening. We are getting together, putting our resources together with our Somali brothers and sisters to open up this relationship to a more functional, more fruitful one, not only in Minneapolis or in Mogadishu, but all over the world, cooperating or connecting our businesses wherever they might operate on the world. May Allah bring prosperity and happiness and peace to all of you. Some of us that they believe differently, this goes to all of us. We believe that way, right, Sheikh? So my best wishes and warmest feelings from Chicago, from Washington, missions of Turkey, and also from Ankara, and most important, from the people of Turkey. Have a good night. Thank you very much.
aad baad u mahadsan tahay faaruuq. Waxaan rajaynayaa dad badan oo Soomaali inay mar dhow Turki u guuri doonaan sida uu uga hadlay Turkiga iyo soo dhaweynta. Marka waxaan jeclahay inaad ila soo dhaweysaan Isaaq Roble waxa uu ka tirsan yahay ururkan, waxa uu u qaabilsan yahay qaybta horumarinta, waa madaxa qaybta horumarinta ee ururka Minnesota Somali Chambers of Commerce. ila soo dhaweeya Mr. Isaaq Roble.
aad iyo aad u mahadsantihiin anoo ku hadlaya magaca chamberka. mar labaad aad iyo aad ayaan idinkaga mahadcelinayaa casho sharaftan aad nagala soo qayb gasheen. roolkayga waxaa waaye organizational and membership development, mas-uuliyad aad u ballaaran oo ah organizationkan inaan heerka uu taagan yahay maahane mid ka sarreeyo aan sii gaarsiiyo. Inshallah, with the members, with the business members, with the business community, we are hoping barnaamijyada aan rajeynayno 2015 iyo 2016 inaan bilaawno oo ah recruitment new members, develop activities and networking events for the business community, build resource directory for the business community and our professional members, train leadership for the chamber, because bena ma soo taagnaanayo, anigana ma soo taagnaanayo. So we want to create sustainable leadership resource that can keep the chamber running, inshallah, markaan duqowna anaga. In addition to that, we are hoping to develop capacity building programs for the non-profit sector of the community organizations. Marka 2015-2016, our plan is too big and the responsibility is on my shoulder, the shoulder of all the members, and with the business community and our members, inshallah, everything will be successful. I want to thank all the chamber members that put volunteering time as well as ideas to make this event successful. I want to thank Mahmoud as well. Thank you very much, everybody.
qofka ugu horeeyaan wacayo waxa weeye cabdiraxmaan ciise kaahin oo nooga warramaya in kooban guulaha uu gaaray iyo sidoo ugu talabsan cabdiraxmaan soo dhow
Well, Philadelphia steak sandwich. I just have it. Somali steak sandwich. It's very popular. The samboos is very popular. The Somali tea, wow, amazing. Today, hadad ka furtid Eden Prairie, a shop of just Somali tea and sambusa, you will do well. Why? Just because you are Somali. So waxa weeyaan inaan ka baxno moolashaasi warehouse-kaasi sidii aan uga bixi lahayn falankeed wayna sameeyno. We need to move on and we need to get together and we need to help the Somali Chamber of Commerce. Marka thank you very much. Waad ku mahadsantihiin. Waxaan rabaa I just want to give you an announcement. February 2nd, the second Afro Day will be open. 7th Street, Yawabasha. So I just want you to the Somalis. We have a large Somali community in St. Paul, and we don't have one single restaurant. So I just want to take the advantage to announce tonight, and inshallah 2016 we will be opening one in Uptown. So thank you very much, and let's support each other. Thank you.
My name is Ibrahim Osman. All right. My name is Ibrahim Osman, and I'm mainly in distribution business. What I basically do is import ethnic food, the brands that the Somali communities were used back home. I started my business about 6 years ago. The idea came about, I was a bank at Wells Fargo, and I saw people, they'll come and send money, like small amount of money, back home to just get a small package. So they'll end up paying 3 times to 4 times the actual cost of the package. So let's say a case of tea will be going for $10 from Kenya. They'll pay $50 to get that tea back to the US. So in 2009, I was like, you know what? There's a lot of potential in this market, but nobody is actually willing to bring this product, to the States. So I first started with the Kenyan tea product, which is a popular tea in the Somali community, and actually now we're penetrating the mainstream market since the tea drinkers population is growing in the US. Apart from that, we've grown from one product to almost 375 products at the moment. I was able to hire 5 people. I started off, doing everything by myself. Sometimes I used to, load about 40 cases of rice in a van and unload it by myself. But thanks to Lord, now I have a driver, I have somebody who loads, I don't have to carry anything. And that will not have been possible without the support of the community. I'd like to thank Safari Restaurant and most of the Somali grocery stores. And now one of the biggest accounts that we managed to get was the co-op foods in the entire Minnesota, like Seaward Co-ops, Kowalski's, and those kind of businesses. Apart from that, apart from being member of the Somali Chamber of Commerce, I like to encourage them to invest in the next generation. Because for my generation, we mainly focused on the community. But I think if we mentor the next generation and invest in them, it's possible, not only possible, it's achievable, to have the next Mark Zuckerbergs from the Somali community, if we only invest in them. Because as Mr. Bruce said, when he sees Somalis, he sees entrepreneurs. Because as Somalis, entrepreneurship flows in our blood. Most of the other communities, they have to go to class, take classes to know how to do business, but for us, it comes natural. All you have to do is just invest into the right field that you think it's right for you and perfect your skills. Apart from that, I only have 2 minutes. I think I've already spent my 2 minutes. I'd like to say thank you for you guys coming tonight and, sharing this gala with us. Thank you very much and God bless you.
xafladeenina way noo xiran tahay dhammaantiin kasoo qaybgalayaashii kasoo qaybgalay xafladuna aad bay u mahadsan yihiin dhammaantiin. Especially I would like to thank Mr. Dr. Bruce Corey of University of Concordia of St. Paul. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. I would also like to say thank you, Mr. Bill Blazer, interim president of Minnesota of Chambers of Commerce. Thank you for coming, sir. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And everybody else who came here tonight, all of you guys, thank you very much. Thank you, and have a blessed night.